Hey, what's up, everyone? I figured I'd get a chance to talk about the film On the Basis of Sex, which is a biopic based on the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and of course, the one that portrays the character is Felicity Jones, who many people know from her work as Jyn Erso in Rogue One, and of course, other works like the movie, Inferno, and things like that. So, anyway, the story follows Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she was a student at Harvard Law School. And at the time when she was a student at Harvard Law School, I think only about nine of the you know, graduates were women. And of course, at the time when Ruth Ginsburg was attending Harvard Law, she faced a lot of discrimination because during the 50s, women were often considered inferior to men both in the workplace and many other aspects, which was rather unfortunate. And she faced a lot of discrimination in the workforce as well because a lot of the places didn't want to hire a woman at law firms. So instead of being a lawyer like she initially wanted to, she ended up applying as a professor in Rutgers Law School while looking after her husband. Marty Ginsburg. At the time when she was at Harvard Law School, had cancer, and then of course she was doing her own coursework and doing the her husband's classes to make sure he would graduate, which is a very commendable thing to do. And then of course one of the highlights of the film that is one of the main storylines of the On the Basis of Sex movie is how Ruth Bader Ginsburg ended up taking that case against Charles Molowitz, who had to hire a nurse to take care of his ailing mother. And of course his character also faced male discrimination because at the time uh, you know section 214 of the tax code prohibited men from claiming a tax deduction for nursing expenses, unless at that, back in the 70s you were like a woman or a widow or a husband whose wife was mentally incapacitated. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg tries to change the norms of society and gender at that time, to prove that that women, were not just the equal to their male counterparts, but also men who were kind of like changing the norms of society at that time, which it wasn't always the woman staying home and taking care of the kids while the men worked and provided for the household, but also sometimes there were men back in the 70s that like who didn't get married or had children and ended up taking care of their parents when there was no one else around, which of course changed in the Supreme Court and changed history as we know it. So I would say surprisingly the movie was actually quite good, and it you know did like layers of the Ruth Bader Ginsburg character you don't normally see in real life, because of course one of the few bits of her personality that like in real life, that the character was a terrible cook. And but one of the things they didn't go into too much, like in real life, that the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, even though she's a very strong-willed, determined woman, but she's also kind of like really shy and things like that. So like I said, it was an interesting take on one of the more of the popular Supreme Court justices, and to see the trials and tribulations that she had to overcome to be on more equal footing with her male counterparts. So it was interesting to look at, and to see history and how things were, and the actions that she did changed how things are between male and females of today. So I would definitely give it a recommendation for those that are interested in seeing it. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching, and be sure to check my YouTube page for other videos I've done. Thanks again for listening.